Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Madison Russo? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Madison Marie Russo was born on April 28, 2003, and was raised in Eldridge, Iowa. At some point, she moved to a residence in Bettendorf, Iowa. This is in an area known as the Quad Cities, a group of 4 cities on the Iowa-Illinois border. In 2021, Madison graduated from North Scott High School. She then attended St. Ambrose College. Madison found a part-time internship at John Deere, which she referred to as a dream. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. In 2022, Madison started posting videos on the social media platform TikTok, claiming that she had been diagnosed with cancer. She described in detail what her experience was like, including her treatment. In one video, she said that her body was fighting so hard every minute just to stay alive. Madison was featured in an article published in the North Scott Press newspaper on October 18, 2022. She gave an account of her medical journey. Madison claimed that in 2020, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. In February 2022, she was diagnosed with stage 2 pancreatic cancer and had a tumor the size of a football on her spine. She claimed that she was feeling a little bit off before a test revealed that her white blood cell count was not in the normal range. More testing led to the discovery of the cancer. After getting the news about the diagnosis by telephone, Madison was devastated. She said, quote, "I remember hanging up the phone and I was a mess. I was literally bawling, but somehow I ended up getting the courage to wipe away my tears and went back into class, which now, when I think about it, was pretty crazy," unquote. Madison went on to explain how her situation was like a catch-22. She could not win for losing. She said, quote, "I feel like I've been rocked to my soul, and right now, everything is kind of uncertain. I just want to know my game plan, and right now, I don't know what that is," unquote. She then talked about her attitude moving forward by saying, quote, "Of course, every day can't be sunshine and rainbows, but you can't just choose to be mad at the cancer. It just happens to people. If you stay depressed and in a dark space, I feel like your body will never get better," unquote. Madison claimed that surgery was not an option because it carried too much risk, and that she had an 11% chance of surviving the next 5 years. 3 months after starting chemotherapy and radiation, Madison was told that the tumor was responding to the treatment, but now she also had leukemia. She then talked about how there were other complications during the treatment, and her situation was not good. She was worried that she would never be able to graduate from college, get married, or become a mother. In addition to this article in the newspaper, Madison was featured on a podcast talking about her battle with cancer and was a guest speaker at St. Ambrose College. Madison set up a GoFundMe campaign to support her cancer battle, and by early 2023, she raised over $37,000 from 439 donors. She also accepted private donations from nonprofit organizations, school districts, various businesses, and private citizens. As Madison made various claims about having cancer and was raising a lot of money, not everyone was convinced. A few individuals with medical experience detected discrepancies on images Madison posted on social media. For example, the feeding tube in one image was not connected correctly, and there was an image Madison posted showing a person receiving treatment. She pretended that the image was of her, but it actually came from another person's social media account. On January 11, 2023, the police were notified about the suspicions that people were having about Madison. Investigators took a closer look at Madison's assertions. They examined records from medical facilities in the Quad Cities and surrounding areas. There was no record of Madison being diagnosed with any type of cancer or being diagnosed with any type of tumor. The police executed a search warrant at Madison's residence. They seized an SUV, bank records, an IV pole, a feeding pump, transparent dressing, a wig, medication for nausea that was prescribed under a relative's name, and cash. On January 23, 2023, Madison was charged with theft by means of deception. This is a Class C felony and carries a penalty up to 10 years in prison. Madison was offered a plea deal, which she accepted. She pleaded guilty to 1 count of first-degree theft. In exchange, the state agreed to ask for a 10-year prison sentence that was suspended. At her sentencing, Madison claimed her motivation for faking cancer was not money or greed. She made an immature decision, and her scheme snowballed quickly and hard. The reason she committed the crime was to motivate her family members to focus on her. On the topic of remorse, Madison said, quote, "I fully acknowledge what I did was wrong, and I'm incredibly sorry. If there was anything I could do to take it back, I would. The reality is, I can't," unquote. Madison's attorney requested a deferred judgment. This is an arrangement where Madison's conviction would have been removed from her record if she met certain conditions. For example, the successful completion of probation. The judge did not accept this recommendation from the defense, claiming that it would not be remotely just to defer judgment in this case. Instead, Madison was given a 10-year suspended sentence in accordance with the state's recommendation. Madison must complete 3 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, pay a fine of $1,370, and make restitution. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Madison appeared to restrict the lies that she told, mostly, if not entirely, to her fake cancer scam. Often, in these types of cases, the con artist lies about everything, even if it does not connect in any way to the main area of deception. For example, the notorious Coco Berthman claimed that she had cancer, but she also made other claims, including she was invited to perform with Celine Dion, she had been contacted by America's Got Talent to appear on the show, and that a relative sent people to the United States to kill her. These additional lies did not help Coco Berthman in any way. They only made it more obvious that she was being deceptive. Madison's behavior was different than Coco's. Madison appeared to focus her deceptive efforts on the medical scam. I think this is a positive indicator for Madison. It suggests that her personality traits are not so extreme that she was compelled to lie indiscriminately about everything in her life. Item number 2. Why did Madison pretend that she had cancer? She claimed that she committed the crime to focus the attention of her family members on her. This assertion does not ring true. It would not have been necessary to raise money if that was really her intent. I would be surprised if Madison could accurately identify her own motive. Her actions are consistent with having a lack of insight, which would prevent her from understanding her own behavior. I don't know why she perpetrated the scam, but I think it is reasonable to believe that she was seeking attention to satisfy her own internal desires. It wasn't to bring her family together or anything like that. Her motive was to elicit certain emotions, to get a feeling that she could only get by people feeling sorry for her. As far as her implying that this was a small deception, which spiraled out of control, there are some crimes which have that type of dynamic, but Madison could have discontinued the fundraiser at any time. She could have walked away from the scam and refunded the money. It seemed like she had more of an investment in the scam than just a small amount. She even obtained and improperly used medical products in an effort to be more convincing. Item number 3. If Madison was looking for attention, how could this dynamic have functioned? People in this type of situation often want others to recognize how much they have suffered and sacrificed. They also want to be held out as inspiring and strong, like they had the will to survive in a situation where other people would have died. Essentially, Madison may have been trying to be a hero. She was surviving against all odds. I don't know specifically what was happening in Madison's case, but in general, these cases often involve a person who is manipulative, self-centered, and has a sense of entitlement. When they are young, the person receives a lot of attention and they feel important, but later something changes and the attention stops. They start to feel ordinary. This is an uncomfortable experience. In order to compensate, they create a fantasy world and then attempt to turn that fantasy into a reality. This makes them feel special, and that feeling can be as addictive as a drug. Item number 4. Madison did not appear to be particularly sophisticated in her efforts to deceive. She was really bad at it. Despite her incompetence at being a con artist, how did she get away with this as long as she did? I think her ability to manipulate people wasn't so much about her skill as it was about the topic she selected. There is something about when a person claims to be suffering from a horrible illness which makes people reluctant to challenge them. In addition, people understandably want to help those who are suffering. Therefore, when someone claims to be suffering, the first feeling is compassion as opposed to skepticism. As long as there are topics in society that are exempt from scrutiny and immune to rational decision-making, there will be con artists like Madison Russo. Her behavior offers a reminder that all claims should be viewed with healthy and appropriate skepticism. Exceptions to this policy will invariably lead to deception and fraud. Item number 5. As I mentioned, Madison was convicted of a felony, and the judge did not agree to a deferred judgment. This felony will stay on her record forever, no matter what. In the state of Iowa, a person convicted of a felony can ask the governor to pardon the crime, but that still does not lead to an expungement of the criminal record. Again, this felony will be Madison's permanent and unwavering companion, always eager to remind her of her past. If Madison does manage to get a pardon someday, her rights will be restored as if she had never been convicted. For example, she would be allowed to vote and own a firearm. Unfortunately for Madison, the state of Iowa is not known for being generous with pardons. Other states like Pennsylvania and Nevada have a reputation for granting a higher percentage of applications. With some states, the chances of getting a pardon are highly dependent on who happens to be the governor at that time. For example, New York and California have a lot of variability as far as the percentage of pardons approved. Item number 6. With the nature of Madison's conviction in mind, what would justice have looked like in this case? Was it reasonable for the judge to deny Madison the deferred judgment? There are a few factors which support the idea of the denial of the deferred judgment. For example, Madison did not stop the scam until she was caught. She ended up defrauding people out of a substantial amount of money. The judge argued that people who deal with Madison in the future should know that she once engaged in a criminal scheme. He said that serious crimes must have serious consequences to deter both Madison and others from such crimes in the future. Looking at the factors supporting the idea of leniency, Madison was very young when she committed the crime. She performed well in high school and was doing well in college at the time of her sentencing. Both the judge and the prosecution admitted that Madison was unlikely to reoffend. Madison was remorseful, and she made full restitution. When considering the evidence, do I think that the deferred judgment should have been granted in this case? Yes, I think that Madison should have had a chance to clear her record. Here's why I believe this. Madison committed a crime, and she needed to pay a penalty, but that penalty did not need to be for the rest of her life. As far as people being warned about her criminal status, her name will live on the internet forever. A criminal record is not necessary to achieve that goal. I think it's likely that someday, when Madison is older, her behavior and attitude will be indistinguishable from her peers. Yet she will continue to pay for that one offense she committed in 2022. She will pay for it when she's in her 50s, in her 60s, in her 70s. Long after she has been rehabilitated, she'll be suffering the consequences for that same crime. In 50 years, people won't even remember what TikTok was. At least one can hope. When Madison tries to explain her conviction to potential employers, they will offer her a confused look. The judge suggested that a deferred judgment would not even be remotely just. I disagree. I believe it ultimately benefits everyone in society to allow redemption. Those are my thoughts on the case of Madison Russo. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.